Welcome back. We have been gaining jobs month by month, but both parties say we need to do better. Congressman Daniel Webster is in the spotlight today. We'll ask him what he's doing to create local jobs, but we begin with action in Washington.
President Obama ordered his cabinet to focus on creating jobs.
They are redoubling their efforts to focus on what matters most to the American people.
The president has said this a few times before.
We will not rest until we are succeeding in generating the jobs.
Sustained and relentless focus over the next several months on accelerating the pace of job creation.
Congress has also promised the same laser focus on rebuilding our economy over and over again.
Americans are talking about good-paying jobs right here at home.
The biggest concern the American people have is
jobs.
But Congress has no silver bullet. The president is pressing for patent reform, new trade deals, and a payroll tax holiday, but there is little appetite in the House or Senate for another stimulus program or increased spending on infrastructure.
Back now with Congressman Daniel Webster. Thank you again for joining us. To those who say the debt deal does nothing to stimulate growth to create jobs in the short term, you would say what?
I would say, first of all, it's a step in the right direction. It's something that had to be done. And the less money the federal government spends, the more jobs are going to be created. And that's a known fact. But second of all, I think there are other steps that need to be taken. First of all, our bureaucracy is crushing business. If you ask businessmen out in just anywhere in this Central Florida area, including my own business and my own sons who run it, they would say it's fear of the future. What is government going to do to us next? What are they going to mandate on us? What are they going to put on us? And so they have all this money on deposit. I think the small businesses have about $1.8 trillion in deposit, not in some securities, just in a bank, probably earning 0.2% of interest, and yet they're not spending it because they're afraid. Rein in. Give Congress some sort of oversight on these rules and regulations that go far beyond the legislation itself. And to me, that's the second step. Third is I think we need a change in our tax policy. We've got to flatten out the rate. We've got to quit picking winners and losers and winners, and that is giving tax breaks to one, taking away from others, some paying a high rate, some paying a low rate. If we can flatten it out, take those away, take the corporate welfare away, but use that to pay for the reduction of the taxes, I think that too goes a long way. So those are some of the things I think Congress can do. We'll be moving in that direction.
The administration attempted to stimulate jobs in our region, specifically in your district, by funding high-speed rail. The state rejected high-speed rail dollars that would have created jobs. In hindsight, from your perspective, was that a mistake, or did state leaders do the right thing?
Well, I think they may have done, I would have gone through a different process, but in the end, they may have come to the same conclusion. To me, government spending is not the solution. Washington is not the solution. They're the problem. What the local community is what needs to create jobs. That's going to be done through private investment and private businesses. Small businesses create about 60% of the jobs in this country. We've got to get them rolling. The best way to do is get out of their way.
Let's talk about the tone in Washington today, and let's go back in time. The first President Bush called for a kinder, gentler nation. President Clinton ran on hope and won on hope. President Obama launched on the national scene as a state senator, speaking of a United States of America. The second President Bush winning on a campaign theme of being a uniter instead of a divider, and yet here we are in a day and age where 76% of the American population, according to Rasmussen Report's poll, say that we're becoming more rude and less civilized. And we are certainly seeing that, among other places, in Washington, D.C. What in the world is going on? It seems to be running exactly counter to exactly what we as a society want.
It's true, but you can change it one person at a time. I said before I got elected that I was asked the question, what are you going to do when you get there? I said, I'm going to make a friend out of a Democrat. So on the day of the State of the Union address, I asked I called 3 different Democrats. The first one that called me back, I asked her to sit with me. And that was the start. And you know, that's what we've got to do. Then I went out and did some other things, met some people. I started in my own little ground floor of Longworth office building, and I went around and met every single person, most of which were Democrats, sat with them, talked with them, made friends out of them. Does that mean we agree on the issues? Absolutely not. But I think there is a divide, and it's got to go. We cannot continue to do what we're doing and not have some sort of basis for at least personal respect. I understand there are those who are on the left, there are those on the right, and those in the middle. I understand that. And I know there's some that I may not ever agree with, but I'm going to try to make a friend out of them. And I think others, and so they asked me, well, what would you do second? I said, the second thing I'll do is going to encourage somebody else to do the same thing. And I have, and that's happened too. So to me, there are barriers to break down. I'm going to do everything I can to break them down.
I know, looking through history, our founding fathers had duels. I mean, we weren't always congenial, but this appears to be a problem that blew up in the past 20 to 30 years. If you go back to the early 1980s, there were strong disagreements in Congress and in administration. Reagan and Tip O'Neill agreed on very little, but they got along. There was a very different tone in Washington in the 80s compared to what we see today. How and where did we go off track?
I'm not sure, but I know I'm going to do everything I can to bring those walls down. And to me, in the end, if we don't, we're going to continue this partisan, bitter stone throwing that does no one, and especially this country, any good.
And a Rasmussen Reports poll also shows 82% of Americans say right now, because of the way Congress has conducted itself, that every member of Congress should take a 25% pay cut. 82% of the people say that. Do you think that Congress should take a pay cut?
I do. Matter of fact, you can't ask them to lower your salary. I ask and you can't. I guess everybody has to be paid the same. But I'm rolling my salary back to 2008. I'm going to turn it back in at the end of the year with a check to lower the deficit. And yes, I believe everybody should do that.